Hi, we're going to do another feature on working creatively in counselling, and I'm delighted that Georgia's come to help me today on working with pictures and artwork in counselling. Georgia, you are a counsellor. Do you want to say a little bit more about you?
Yes. I work with young people, adults, couples. I've been practicing probably since about 2005.
Brilliant.
So quite a while now.
And do you already integrate creative tools in your work as a counsellor?
Yes, I do quite a lot of creative interventions. Mainly I do work with pictures, which I know is what we're going to be doing today.
So do you yourself, have you ever worked with pictures?
Yes, I have worked with pictures as a client. Occasionally, not a lot. So, and I've also done some on training courses.
Yes. And what's it like to think that you might be drawing on video today?
Oh, absolutely horrendous, as I can't draw, and I'll tell you now, I cannot draw. So my drawings will probably look like a 3-year-old's.
Oh, that's absolutely fine, and it's better really. If we have very professional artists doing this stuff, we ask them to do it with their non-dominant hand. So you're in very good company. A lot of people feel the same, and thank you so much for helping me, Georgia. I'd like to say a little bit about the tools of the trade, as it were. I just basically use ordinary felt tip pens and reasonably thick, and I keep all my pictures. We're going to be working with just a collection of pictures for the client to choose from. I keep them all in a lever arch file, I laminate them and I number them so that if I lose one or one gets damaged, I quickly can find it again to print it out. How have I chosen them? Well, I guess over many years of doing this work, every time I see a picture that might be intriguing, interesting, I add it to the collection. So I've got about 32 laminate collections. Bear in mind, I also do a lot of training, so I have to have a lot if I've got a large group of people on the course. You may be thinking, well, I haven't got a nice big table to do this so I would also recommend that you invest in one of these if you haven't already got one, because they perfectly pretty much fit an A3 piece of paper, and the client can sit with this on their knee and draw in that way. So I'm going to ask Georgia to choose one of these pictures that she can work with, and all she has to do is simply take her time and flip through, and what we say is the picture chooses you. So we'll let Georgia find a picture that she'd like to work with. She doesn't have to know why. In fact, it's better if you don't know why you've chosen it, so that we can let these wonderful unconscious processes take place. So Georgia, have you found one of the pictures that is speaking to you?
Yes, this one.
Okay, let's take it out of the folder. Get that out of the way. And here's some nice paper for you. And what I would really like you to do is to very simply reproduce it. And using colour, yeah, that's great.
Okay,
how are you feeling?
not
I know.
Great.
I know. It's very, very good of you to do this.
So
many clients feel the same, Georgia. They really do. Does it bother you that you're being watched?
Not at the moment, because I'm just kind of trying to do the drawing. But
yeah.
I know once I've done it, I'll think, oh no.
Isn't it interesting how vulnerable we can feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll let you draw. I'll let you draw.
Okay.
I do encourage clients not to use pencil. Some of them would love to use pencil because then they can rub it out, but to commit to paper and to get over the shame or embarrassment many feel. This can go right back to childhood and feeling judged or criticised, and what we want to do is create an atmosphere of acceptance and warmth that enables the client to do their best to produce the picture. But you can imagine how many things that in itself brings up, and the vulnerabilities it can sometimes evoke.
It's like I know the wall isn't actually this colour, but it just feels I need to do it.
Yeah.
This colour.
It becomes your picture, Georgia. That's just the doorway in, as it were, and then we will work with what it means to you.
I suppose as well, and I don't know whether this is just my stuff, but I feel a pressure to do it quickly, because I know everybody, if people are watching, or you know, this is on tape, I don't want to be taking a long time. So I guess that's my stuff coming in there as well.
That's really thoughtful of you, but doing it, drawing it, it's really interesting, the kind of pressures it does bring up. So that is an unusual one, because clients won't normally be filmed, but they will be watched. And am I taking up too much time? Can be an interesting script. Is that a familiar place?
Absolutely.
To you?
Yeah, as in, like, you must be really bored while you wait for me to do this. That's what's coming up. Just that assumption.
Just notice that. Just notice that feeling. Am I taking up too much time? And the green in the background.
The green's really important. You know, it's interesting. Not only is it for me about the birds, but it's also the background, the wall, the grass. I feel like I really want to apologise because I just haven't done this photo justice. But again, I know this is all my stuff coming through.
And I'll sit with you in that discomfort, but it is probably part of what we're looking at as well, in a way. So Georgia, there is your picture, and this is what we're now going to be looking at and seeing what messages it has for you. In a way, I quite like to put this out of the way for now. It's done its job.
Okay.
And so now we're just looking at what you have drawn. The first thing I like to get clients to do, so we'll ask you to do, is think of a title. And this is a title that comes from your guts, not birds on a wall, but a feeling title.
It's interesting, you know, as you were saying that, the words that just came into my head was the ugly duckling.
Okay, well, let's write that on. You said earlier that you had a feeling of sadness when you looked at the picture, and is that feeling still around, or any others?
Oh, I think the word longing, as I look at it now, because it's like, so this is me.
This is you.
And that's everybody else. And yet it's like I just can't get there. It's like, you know, the wall is just pushing me back, but it's like just the longing of just wishing that I could be in this world.
Shall we put the word longing down and just see if you can find any other feelings, and we'll write them on.
I'm just going to go for it, just the words that just come in. I just felt lonely.
Oh gosh, is there an E or isn't there? Heaven knows. That looks perfect. Isn't it? Suddenly we lose all capacity to spell when we do things like that. That's perfect.
Okay.
So we've got longing, desperate, sad, lonely, blocked off. Abandoned. They're powerful words, Georgia. And another one. Different. Very powerful, strong words.
Yeah, I think they're the main. Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's just literally, I didn't quite realise the power of doing this, how it goes right back into your child place, you know, just straight away. Yeah. Oh,
So
okay.
we've got a sense of little you in the
Yeah,
picture.
no,
You were
absolutely.
clear this is, the yellow duckling is you,
Yeah.
but a young part of you?
Yeah, probably 5-year-old me. And it's so interesting because the title I've given it is The Ugly Duckling, and yet actually I'm the brightest one in the picture, wanting to be like the others. So it all feels as if everything, it feels like everything is not how it's meant to be.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. One of the things we do when we're working with a picture is to see what message is coming from each part. And as well as the ducklings, I heard that the wall was important, and the greeny bit was important as well. If you think about the ducklings, yourself, all the other elements of the picture, you know, like in a cartoon, you get speech bubbles. What can you hear them saying? Who's got the loudest voice?
So the wall, if the wall had a voice, it's saying you're not coming in, you're not welcome.
Okay, what colour would we use for that?
That would be red. And this feels massive. Yeah, you're not coming in, you are not welcome.
Oh, I can feel the power of that.
So the birds, these birds, I almost feel these birds, yeah, these birds don't want me, but they almost hardly notice I'm even there. So there's like, if that's me, I'm desperately trying to get in with them.
Yeah.
But it's like they're just going, you know, just not even oh, hang on, can I write?
Go for it. What colour would you like? Purple.
Purple.
Purple do.
So the speech bubble here would be, we are just not interested.
So it's not even that they're hostile or bullying, is there? So am I understanding this right? It's that they don't even see you?
Well, they do see it, they're just dismissive.
Okay.
It's like, oh, just go away.
Just go away.
Just nothing, just go away.
Can we put go away as one of the messages that they're saying? So I've got our little duckling there. Has she got a voice?
Yes, she does. So all she's saying is I just want to be with you. That's all she wants.
I just want to be with you.
She's just looking. It's just always looking, but never a part of. Out of reach, I think, is other really powerful words. You know, I can kind of see, but I never get there. It's just out of reach, always looking over and across at.
Out of reach? Shall we capture that? Would you like to write that somewhere?
Yeah. Just going to put it down here.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the grass was so important, because what I see when I look over that wall is everybody's all together, they're in lovely grass, it's all lovely, and I just can't, even though I'm standing on my tiptoes, I just can't get there, because actually this wall is really strong. You're just not coming in. It's not going to happen.
Georgia, thank you so much for doing this first stage, and an awful lot of feelings came out of that. What was it like to do it and feel all those feelings coming up?
Well, I was amazed at just how it all just seemed to gush out, especially as I was aware, you know, I went from feeling pressured to actually do the drawing, but once the words, it's almost, they were all there and just really needed to come out. And
you connected with a 5-year-old self?
Yes. Yeah, no, the 5-year-old, yeah, this whole picture is the 5-year-old me, if you like. Yeah, not belonging, not being accepted. It just kind of reminds me of school. Yeah, but I think what I really noticed was I had the message of you're not coming in, you're not welcome. But then even if I did and I was welcome or I got in,
Even
I'd
if
be
you got
dismissed
in.
anyway. So
Yeah.
there was, and as I realised that, it was just like a feeling of, God, this is just pointless. What's the point?
Yeah.
I suppose came up.
You've done an enormous amount of work on that, so there's very little room left on there, and so I'm going to suggest we do a scene 2 to develop this, so we can hold that as it is, because I think the message is important to hold without putting any more on. Does that feel okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So with your permission, can I move this?
Yeah.
Touch without permission,
Yeah,
big
sure.
no. It is important to get permission to touch any piece of work that the client does, whether it's a drawing or working with nesting dolls or figures or whatever you're doing with, to not move in to touch without the client saying it's okay, because it is actually an extension of the client. All right, now Georgia, the thing is, what do we do with this? What do we do with those feelings? And the first thing I'd like to ask you, and I want to invite you to draw scene 2.
Oh, God. Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to think about
Right.
what we might put in that. Well, Georgia, here's scene 2. You've got a blank piece of paper. I'm just going to give you some space to go with what comes. What does that little duckling need?
She just needs to be accepted by the others. It's like she needs them to see her, that actually she's okay, and you know, she is actually fun to be with. But so I think when I was little, I always used to imagine that I used to love Superman. So it's like if they saw me just riding in the sky with Superman, then maybe they would think I was cool. I just needed a bit of help to get over that wall, I think, and that was the missing bit, the help. It just wasn't there at school. There was just nobody, because nobody knew.
Nobody knew what you were feeling?
Nobody knew what I was. I was too embarrassed to share. You know, you just didn't. Nobody, just didn't feel right to share. So I don't know, maybe it was a thing of the times. It's so different in schools now, isn't it? Like if children aren't okay, gosh, everybody knows, but nobody knew. I suppose I'd learned to just hide it really well at school. So I would just always, just fantasize, I suppose, at school that I was liked, I was accepted. So I think this picture, gosh, now I've just given myself the task of drawing Superman. Did you say it was all right for Matchstick
figure with
Man,
a cloak,
didn't you?
which might work.
So actually the way it would work would be so Superman would literally just come in. He's got a nice, what did he have? Oh gosh, I really can't remember, but okay, so Superman would come in. And he would just say to me, do you know what? We're going to show them just how cool. You've got a cool friend. And actually, the birds' faces would be so different. This is what I wished had happened. You know, I know it's not the reality
This was
of how it was,
dream.
but every night I used to just imagine something happening, something that changed me from being how I was.
Wow.
Yeah, something changed me from just being how I was, so that actually I was cool, you know, people wanted to be with me. Because what I know now from all the therapy that I've done is there is nothing wrong with me. There never was anything wrong with me. I think the problem came is just nobody knew that I was so not okay. God, I'm so sorry, Pauline, I just cannot, I cannot draw. But actually, we're all up in the sky.
Yeah.
And we're all, so I'm just going to do like a cloud. And the big difference is there would be a smile on my face.
Can I offer you something, Georgia, that comes to me as I look at what you've done? And one of the things that is suggested is that while it's definitely you, it's definitely the people at school, and it's definitely Superman, that these could also be understood as internalised parts of you.
Right.
So that young, undefended, misunderstood child is there. And actually we can internalise those negative voices that you're not interesting, you're not worth anything. But you've also got an internalised Superman rescuer, Superwoman who thinks differently now.
Well, it is Superman, and the reason it's Superman is because of the strength. So in other words, for all my story, that actually I pushed through it all. So I know, so I guess Superman probably just represents the inner strength that I've got, and I suppose it is quite male because it's like that. So yeah, that does feel right.
Does that make sense to you, that they could all actually be parts of
yeah,
who
no,
you
absolutely. I think I'm just sort of the birds, I guess, also another part of me. Just thinking what the birds, I'm struggling with what the birds, the parts that they would have. I know because I've changed them because they were dismissive to accept him, and maybe that's a part, it represents the part of me that's always open. I've never been fixed in a view. I've always had that hope that things would change. So I think, okay, so in the first picture I drew, they were dismissive, an X, Y, and Z, and then in this one
they've changed.
They're like, wow, and they're really open, they're accepting, and I think maybe that symbolises I always had that hope, or that, that real wish that I would feel different, that life would be different. So I think maybe that just represents that part.
Yeah. And we do still carry with us a vulnerable child place. And if we draw this together now, with everything we've done, and we could spend hours more on this, I'm sure, but you've been just brilliant doing this. What if you could go back in time and talk to your 5-year-old self, which of course you can do right here, right now, what would you say to her?
I'd say to her, she has done...
You. Can you say you?
Oh, you. You are absolutely amazing to go through what you went through at school and to hold all that in, and yet still carry that inner strength and that hope and that knowingness as well that life would be different. It's amazing. And I think, and that people should want to be your friend because you're actually okay. I think that's
you
what
definitely are. Well done. Thank you, Georgia. That's a great place to end this little bit of work on. Thank you so much. There's no one way of working with pictures, but I hope my session with Georgia has given you some ideas of how you might work using just a random picture from a collection and see what it brings up. And we do have this concept of unfinished business, that we're drawn to try and resolve something from the past, usually. We worked with 2 scenes. Very often you can just stay with scene 1, and there certainly was so much involved in scene 1 that we could have spent several sessions actually exploring what happened to Georgia at school and how she was left feeling about herself. But the picture became so complicated that we decided to have a scene 2, or I decided, to Georgia's obvious delight, that we were going to do another picture. She was so honest and so real about her feelings about drawing, and that was just so reassuring and brave of her to share that with us, and a huge thank you, Georgia, for that. You can, of course, just stay with scene one, and you could ask, what would you like to change? If it's not that complicated, you could add something in, take something out. I've had clients tear pieces off the picture. But we went on to a scene two, and this really was about exploring, reframing the memory for Georgia. She wanted to explore what she really would have loved, and for her that was a fantasy picture of Superman coming to be her rescuer. I then went on to offer a Gestalt intervention, which is that, rather like in a dream, all the different elements are actually part of you. And it seemed to fit for this one, and between us we kind of worked out whether it did. Certainly the child part fitted, and the superhero self fitted, and Georgia could see how those parts had changed over the years and developed, and we worked out what the birds might mean together. This is very much a collaborative effort. We travel together to see what the picture means, rather than the counsellor telling the client what it means. We don't interpret, but we work on it together and to see what comes up between us. Always allowing, if we do offer something, to offer with a question mark, to be tentative, so that the client can correct us if we get it wrong. So several things came up there, and you'll find that when you work with clients with the pictures, it's different every time. But I hope this has whet your appetite to start your own collection of pictures, and do share in the comments below if it's been helpful. Thank you for watching.